3 years. That's how long Liam had been silent. Not because he couldn't hear, not because he didn't understand. The words were there. Doctors confirmed it. He simply wouldn't let them out. Not for his mother, not for his father, not for any of the specialists who spent 3 years trying. Then, a 150-pound Great Dane at Riverside Animal Shelter ignored every other child in that hallway and walked straight to Liam. What he said next, nobody had heard in 3 years. There is a specific kind of silence that parents learn to carry. Not the silence of a sleeping house or a quiet Sunday morning. The silence of a child who is right there, eating breakfast, drawing at the table, watching you with eyes that understand everything and simply will not speak. 3 years of that silence changes a person. It changes how you move through a room. It changes what you hope for and what you stop allowing yourself to hope for. Because hope, when it goes unanswered long enough, starts to hurt. James and Rachel Mercer had spent 3 years in waiting rooms. 3 years of specialists, assessments, careful questions delivered in gentle voices. Selective mutism, the first doctor said. Possible spectrum traits, said the second. They all agreed on one thing. Liam understood everything around him. He simply kept his words somewhere no one could reach. At home, he drew, constantly, obsessively, the same subject over and over. A dog. Large, gray-blue with a broad head and long legs. Rachel had assumed it was something he had seen on television. She saved every drawing anyway. She saved everything. The call came from Liam's school in October. A local program, Shelter Dog Basics, was offering a 6-week course for children. Basic animal behavior, how to move around rescue dogs, how to be still and let the dog approach first. The school thought it might help Liam. Structured environment, low pressure, no expectation to speak. Rachel said yes before she finished reading the email. The first day the class visited Riverside Animal Shelter, the hallway erupted. Metal gates rattled, dogs lunged against bars. The other children stopped at the first row of kennels, pointing and laughing. Liam didn't stop. He didn't look left or right. He moved down the corridor like someone following a sound only he could hear. His teacher called his name once. He didn't turn. He walked until he reached Kennel 14. Inside sat a dog. Gray-blue coat, broad head, long legs folded beneath a body that weighed more than most adults. The dog wasn't barking, wasn't pacing, just sitting quietly at the back of the enclosure, watching the chaos in the hallway with amber eyes that seemed entirely unbothered by all of it. Liam pressed his face against the bars. The dog stood up. Slowly, without urgency, walked to the front of the kennel, lowered his massive head, and pushed his nose through the gap. Liam's hand went through the bars. His fingers found the dog's forehead. And then, barely above a breath, barely loud enough for his teacher standing 3 feet away to catch, he said one word. Zeus. His teacher froze. She hadn't told him the dog's name. The nameplate on the kennel was too small to read from where Liam was standing. She checked it afterward. It said Zeus. She filmed the moment without fully understanding what she was capturing. That evening, she showed the video to Rachel. Rachel watched it 4 times without speaking. Then she called James into the room and made him watch it too. They sat together in the kitchen for a long time after that. The next morning, they drove to Riverside Animal Shelter and signed the adoption papers. Some things don't need explaining. They just need to be witnessed. If you know someone who has stopped believing, this story is for them. You are still watching, but I can see you haven't subscribed yet. Honestly, that stings a little. Everything we do is for stories exactly like this one. Hit subscribe right now, because what happened at 2:47 in the morning 11 weeks later is the reason this family will never be the same. The first week was careful. Zeus moved through the house like he understood the rules without being told them. He didn't jump, didn't bark. Around Liam, he was slower still, deliberate, patient, always at a distance that felt chosen rather than accidental. Liam spoke to him that first night, not to James, not to Rachel, to Zeus. Soft, short words in the dark of his bedroom, sounds too quiet to make out through the door. Rachel stood in the hallway and listened and didn't move for a long time. Over the following weeks, words came, slowly at first, then more steadily. Single words became short sentences. Short sentences became questions. Questions became conversations, still mostly with Zeus, but gradually, carefully, with his parents too. By week 6, Liam's teacher reported that he had spoken during circle time, unprompted, one sentence, to the whole class. She cried when she told Rachel. Rachel cried when she told James. James went outside and stood in the yard for a while and didn't say anything to anyone. Zeus sat beside him the entire time. It was a Wednesday in January, 11 weeks after Zeus came home. The temperature had dropped below freezing and the house was quiet. At 2:47 a.m., Zeus started barking. Not his usual rumble. This was rapid, sustained, aimed at the front of the house with an urgency that pulled James out of sleep before he was fully conscious. He found Zeus in the entryway, facing the front door, every muscle locked. What replaced the barking was worse, a low, continuous sound from somewhere deep in his chest, the kind of sound that doesn't need translation. James looked through the window. A figure was at the side gate, moving slowly, testing the latch. Not a neighbor, not someone who belonged there. James called 911. The figure heard the barking resume, louder this time, and moved, fast, gone before the police arrived 4 minutes later. 2 other houses on the street had been broken into that same night. His had not been touched. One of the officers looked at Zeus sitting in the entryway and said, "Glad you've got him." James looked at the dog for a long moment. At the dog his son had named before anyone told him the name. At the dog who had pulled the first word out of 3 years of silence, and then, 11 weeks later, stood between his family and whatever was on the other side of that door. "Yeah," James said, "me too." Liam is 5 now. He talks constantly, to Zeus, to his parents, to anyone willing to listen. His teachers and parents describe him with the same word, relentless, always smiling when they say it. Zeus is 4. He still sleeps outside Liam's door. He still moves slower around the boy than around anyone else. And every morning, without fail, Liam comes downstairs and tells Zeus good morning before he says anything to anyone else. Rachel still has every drawing from before. The gray-blue dog with the broad head and long legs. They hang in the hallway, right next to the front door, right next to where Zeus stands every single night. Because some connections can't be explained by logic or training or anything science has a clean name for. Some things just arrive, in a shelter hallway, behind a metal gate, at the exact kennel a silent boy walked to without anyone leading him there. And some dogs choose their person long before anyone realizes the choosing has already happened. Do you believe some bonds exist before they begin, or does love only grow from what we build together? Tell me in the comments.